In this tutorial, we are going to be looking at a few ways of resizing rows and columns. I'm going to do all of the examples showing the columns, but you can do exactly the same with the rows. So the first and the simplest one is just to resize one column at a time. So you're going to bring your cursor here to the letter of the column, to the right side until you see this little arrow, and then you're just going to click, drag, and drop. And you see that has resized column A. Now we can resize multiple columns at the same time, so now I'm going to select all of my columns. So you see I have them all highlighted, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. So I'm going to bring my cursor to the right of any of the columns really. So for example, I don't have to do this on the last one on H, I could do this on D. So let's do this on D until I see this little arrow, and then I'm gonna click, drag, and drop. And you see that by doing this with all of the columns selected, the spreadsheet has resized all of the columns, and they are not all the same size. Another option that I have when I have all of them selected, rather than dragging and dropping, I can double click. And let's try this on H. So I'm gonna bring my cursor here until I see this arrow. And this time, rather than dragging and dropping, I'm going to double click. And you see the result here is slightly different because when you double click, what the spreadsheet does, it resizes each single column to the size of the text that it has. So here, for example, text is very short. You see this column is very narrow. Whereas here the text is much longer in column F, so this is it's a much larger column. So dragging and dropping, they're gonna be, you see if we do again drag and drop, they're gonna be all the same size, whereas if we double click, they're going to adapt to the size of the text. The last way of doing the same thing that I want to show you is by basically right clicking. So I have my column selected, I'm going to right click anywhere, and I'm gonna come here to resize columns A to H. You click on that, and then here you have the option to either select a size in width in pixels, a width in pixels, or you can fit it to data. So it's telling me here that the default is 100 and now I'm 85, so if I do 100, I just typed in 100 and say OK. Now you see they are all the same size, 100. If I right click again, resize columns A to H, and I fit to data, click OK. That's basically the same thing as if I came here to the top and I double clicked. As I said, we can do the same things for the rows. You can select them and you can move them around. You can do this with multiple rows. So basically the same thing, exactly the same thing that we did with the columns, we can do with the rows.